Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees from Sridham Mayapur. My name is Madhavananda Das, last time I checked. And today we're continuing our adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. And today is the first day of Purushottam Mas, or the month of Purushottam. We'll say a few words about that today. And today we're going to begin a very special katha, which we're calling a meeting in Kurukshetra. And we'll begin today with Krishna's departure from Vrindavan, which that topic may take one or two sessions, we'll see. We'll just say a few prayers before we begin. Gora Graganya Ganagotra Goloruharam Goranga Gudachama Gopyara Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namani Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Vidoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, dear devotees from Sridham Mayapur, and happy Purushottam Mas here in Mayapur. This is the first day of the month of Purushottam, and we'd like to welcome my friends Madhupati Prabhu and Vaita Chandra and Garanda and Nityananda Kori Mataji, as well as the devotees who are sitting here in the room with us. So today we're going to begin a special katha for this month. This is known as Purushottam Mas, it's known as Adhika Mas, it's known as Mala Mas. For different reasons, we gave a katha about this recently, so I won't go so much into that now. But it's known as Adhika Mas, it's the extra month. It's every 3 years there's an extra month in the calendar. It's known as Mala Mas. Mala means something useless. And on this month, the strict Hindus won't do any weddings or any auspicious functions. But the Vaishnavas consider it to be Mala Mas for another reason, because whatever useless things, which are also known as anartha, or not the artha, not the things we really want, this is a very good month to purify our heart of those things. It's also known as Purushottam Mas, or the month of Krishna, who's known as Purushottam, the topmost personality. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda has written about this. We gave a class on his article recently. And in his article, Bhaktivinoda says, especially during this month, one should worship Radha and Krishna. We're going to offer some lamps. Are they ready? Maybe you should get them ready during class or something. If you have time afterwards. Okay, fine. We'll be offering some special lamps also every day, and we're going to do some special, we have some special vratas. Vratas are something personal, which we don't like to talk about, but we'll do something together as a group. One thing I can mention to everybody that we'll be doing as a group, one day a week, we haven't figured out which day yet, but we'll be going and having some katha at the Nandi sanctuary with the cows. And we'll have our normal katha there, but the cows will be around us, and we'll say something at that time about the cows. So during this month, I thought we could speak something from the Bhagavatam about a very important topic, which, in my humble opinion, is the crux of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's Krishna's leaving Vrindavan and then later the meeting in Kurukshetra. And so we'll be speaking from primarily the 36th, 37th chapters of the 10th canto, which speak about Akrura going to Vrindavan and bringing Krishna away. And then later we'll speak about the 82nd chapter of the Bhagavatam. And we're going to explore this through various different literatures also, including Vaishnava Lilamrita, Vrindavan Lilamrita rather, by Nandakishore Goswami, and some different commentaries that are not so well known on this part of the Bhagavatam, and as well as different Puranas and things. And so this is going to be, today, we're going to explore the madness of separation, of Krishna's departure from Vrindavan. That probably will, the madness will come in a day or two more. And in our journey, we're going to speak something about what I like to call the Trail of Tears. Trail in English means a pathway or a journey. And we want to speak about Krishna's departure from Vrindavan, his visit to Mathura, why he didn't stay in Mathura, why he didn't return to Vrindavan from Mathura, why he went to Dwarka, and the agony of the Vrijabasis separation from Krishna, and their later meeting in Kurukshetra. And then we'd like to try to conclude with the connection between Kurukshetra, Jagannath Puri, and Vrindavan. So we're going to begin with a verse from this 36th chapter, the 10th canto. This is Narad Muni speaking to Kamsa. Now Kamsa, he had heard about Krishna, and so he sent Putana and Bakasura and so many different demons. And now Narad Muni went to further inflame Kamsa's disturbed mind, and he told him the following: Yashodaya sutam kanyam devakya krishnameva cha Ramam charonihi putram yas vasudevena bibhyata Nyasto swamitri nande vai yabhyam te purushahataha. So Narad told Kamsa that actually Yashoda Yasutam Kanyam, that Yashoda had a Kanya, she had a daughter, and Devakya Krishnam Evacha, and Krishna was the son of Devaki. Ramam Charohini Putram, the Balaram was the son of Rohini, Vasudevina Bibhyati, out of fear, Bibhyati, Vasudev, Nyasta Swamitri Nande Vai Yabhyamte Purushottama. He entrusted Krishna and Balaram to his friend Nanda Maharaj. And it's these two boys who have killed all your men. So when Kamsa heard about this, he became very, very agitated. It's described that Nishamya Tadbhojapati Kapot Prachalitendriya. Prachalitendriya means his indriya, his senses were very, very agitated. And so he picked up Nisatam Asam. Asam means a sword. Asam Adatta Vasudeva Jigamsaya. He picked up a sword to kill Vasudeva. Jiva Goswami comments that his senses and mind were so agitated, it means that he lost all power of discrimination. At that time, Narad Muni said, hey, it's okay. Chill out. Nivarito naradena tatsuto mrityam atmana gyatva loha mohai pasay babhanda sahabhayaya. Narad Muni restrained him, and he reminded him that it's not Vasudeva who's going to cause your death, rather it's tatsuto mrityam. It's the sons, the two sons of Vasudeva who are going to cause your death. So when he heard that, then he had Vasudeva and Devaki bound up in iron shackles. Jiva Goswami explains that in effect, Narad Muni was telling him that this is what will happen. If you kill his father, then he's going to go in hiding somewhere, and you won't find him. So the best thing is you should tie up Vasudeva and Devaki, and then Krishna and Balaram will come to Mathura to free them. And then at that time you can kill Krishna and Balaram. Kamsa said, very good. Narad Muni, you're a big help. Thank you very much. Narad Muni is a great troublemaker. He's speaking like this because he wants to help the pastimes of Krishna, and also because he wants to see Kamsa killed sooner. So at this point, Kamsa called for Keshi. And he told Keshi that you go to Braj and you kill Krishna Balaram. And then at the same time, he had a backup plan. So he called for the Mahut, the person who takes care of the elephant known as Kuvalayapida, which belonged to his father-in-law. Who's the father-in-law of Kamsa, Krishna, Jarasandha, excuse me. See, Jarasandha had been camping once, and he had this huge war elephant in Kuvalayapida. And that elephant it broke its chains one day and went running off. And Kamsa was staying about, 20, 30 miles away. And Kuvalayapida happened to go there. And when Kuvalayapida came into the wrestling arena, a wrestling place where Kamsa was with his good buddies, Mushtaka, Chanura, and all these different wrestlers, everyone panicked, and they all got up and started running away. But Kamsa turned around and stamped his feet in the ground and said, okay, come on. And this is Kamsa. And so the elephant Kuvalayapida attacked Kamsa, and Kamsa just laughed. And he picked up Kuvalayapida, and he spun him around, and he threw him like 20 or 30 miles. And he landed back in the camp of Jarasandha. But Jarasandha was really impressed. Who picked up this huge elephant, which everyone's terrified of, and threw him such a distance? I want to marry my daughters to him. And so that's the story of how Kamsa married those two daughters of Jarasandha, whose names were, I speak about all the time, Krishna, remember their names? Asti and Prapti. Asti and Prapti. So Kamsa called for the keeper of Kuvalayapida. He also called for his good buddies, Mustika, Chanur, Shal, and Toshal, these wrestlers. These are the ministers, the Bhagavatam says, of Kamsa. That's the nature of a very ignorant person. Their ministers are people who are powerful and angry, who like to fight. Whereas a wise person chooses someone who has some wisdom and some knowledge. So Kamsa told them that we're going to set up a wrestling match with Krishna and Balaram, and we want to send out announcements everywhere, and it's going to be on Shivratri day, so everyone should come. And then the Bhagavatam says that Kamsa, then he called for Akrura. And it says, Grihitva panina panim tato kruram uvacha. That Kamsa, he took Akrura's hand in his hand. Very sweet. And he began to speak to him. So Jiva Goswami comments about this. He says that Kamsa knew all about Dharma, about Artha, Kama, but he didn't understand much about Dharma. Akrura was known in this verse is described as Yadu Pungavam, or the best, the most trustworthy of the Yadu dynasties. Therefore, he was suitable to go because everybody trusted him. And Jiva Goswami explains that he called for Akrura not because he was Kamsa's man, but because he knew that Akrura could deliberate on things very skillfully. And they took Akrura's hand to show some affection to him and to make sure that he understood that what I'm about to say is private. Don't write about this on the internet and Facebook or anything like that. And he spoke to Akrura in a very sweet way. He told him, Bobo Danapate Mayam Kriyatam Maitam Advita. My Bobo, my dear, Bo is a signature of respect. He's addressing him as Danapate. You're the best of the generous person, so you should fulfill what I want to do. Maitam, he spoke to him in a very friendly way. Maitam means friend. You should do what's worthy of a friend. Nanyasvato hitatamo vidyate Bhoja Vishnini. He says amongst the members of the Bhoja and Vrishni dynasties, there's no one who's as kind as you. And so then Akrura, Jiva Goswami says, why are you sending me? And Kamsa says, because you're the order bearer of the Yadus, I give respect to you. And then Kamsa, he continued to flatter Akrura. Very interesting. Atastvam ashrita somya karya gaurava sadhanam. Itendra vishnum asritya swartam ajagamad vibhu. He said, Akrura, You're Karya Gaurava Sadhana. You're a very, very gentle person, Gaurava. And so I'm depending on you to accomplish my task. Just in the same way, Yatendro Vishnu, the same way that Indra, Vishnu Ashrita, he took shelter of Vishnu to achieve his goals. I'm also taking shelter of you. In other words, he's thinking of himself that I'm like Indra. And you're like Vishnu, Akrura. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that indirectly he's criticizing Vishnu. He doesn't have so much respect for Vishnu. He has more respect for Indra. And then he tells him, Gacha Nanda Brajam Tatra. Gacha means to go. Please go, Nanda Braja, to Vrindavan, to the village of Nanda Maharaj. Tacha Sutav Anakundundube, where the two sons of Anakundundubi, or Vasudeva, are living. And don't hesitate, Asatetav, Ihanena, Ratananya Machiram. You bring them here on this chariot. And our acharyas have commented that that chariot, Sanatana Goswami says, it was a very new, beautiful chariot. And Kamsa had never even used it yet. And so indirectly, Krishna had arranged this because if I'm going to go, it should be something that's not Kamsa's prasadam. It should be something which has not been offered to him. It should be offered first to me. And Kamsa was saying that we'll send this new beautiful chariot, and these two boys will be happy. They'll see, wow, a new chariot for us. We got to go. It's really good. But actually, it was really the will of the Lord that all these arrangements were made. So he told Akrura that the Devatas, they're under the protection of Vishnu, and they've sent these two boys as my personified death. So I want you to bring them here, and you should also bring Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men with gifts to tribute from me. And after you bring Krishna and Balaram, then I'm going to have them killed by my elephant, Kuvalayapida. And if somehow they manage to escape from him, then we have plan B, Chanura and Mushtika. They'll kill them. Those wrestlers are so very, very powerful. And then he told them that Kamsa was such a rascal. Tayor nihateyos taptan vasudeva parogaman tadbhandun nihanishyami brishni bhoja dasarakan. And when Krishna and Balaram are killed, then I'll kill Vasudeva and all their relatives, all the Vrishnis, Bhojas, and Dasaras. In an interesting verse I find in next text 34, he says, Ugrasenam chapitaram staiviram rajakamukam tadbrataram devakam chadze chanye vidvisav mama. He says that Ugrasena, who's my pitta, my father, he's rajakamukam. He's very greedy for my kingdom. He says, I'm going to kill him. And I'm also going to kill my brother Devaka, and Vidviso Mama, I'm going to kill all my other enemies as well. So Kamsa is a follower of conspiracy theories. He's one of the original persons of that, and so is Ravan. Their nature of demoniac persons is they can't accept that I did something. They can't accept the will of Krishna, but they're always trying to look, who did this? Who did this to me? And they're very, very angry persons. They're very paranoid persons. And they're seeing just the external things. They're not seeing that Krishna is Nimitta Matram, that he's the doer of everything. And he told Akrura, Tatas Chaisa Mahi Mitra, my dear Mitra, my friend, Bhavitri Nashtakantaka. After I kill Ugrasena and his brother Devaka, and I kill Vasudeva and Devaki, then the earth will be free from all thorns. Such a rascal. Sanatana Goswami comments, he says that Akrura then says, but, Kamsa, I'm a member of the Bhoja dynasty. Am I not one of their friends? And Kamsa said, no, you're my friend. You're my benefactor, and I'll tell you what, I'll give you part of my kingdom if you do this for me. So Kamsa went on to explain to Akrura. He told him that my elder relative Jarasandha, my father-in-law, and my dear Drug, my dear buddy Dravida, they're well-wishers of mine, and so are Sambara and Haraka and Bana, all these demoniac kings. And I'm going to use them to kill off all those kings who are aligning themselves with the demigods, all the saintly kings. So now you've understood this. You go and you bring Krishna Balaram. I have this plan. This way I'm going to be able to rule the earth. Everything's going to be just fine. I'll solve all my problems. This is the nature of demoniac persons. They think that they're going to solve their problem by some material solution. They see material causes to the things. They don't see a spiritual cause. They don't see their own karma. They don't see Krishna's hand. And they have material solutions for spiritual problems. But the Bhagavatam describes in the 11th canto, Pashyan Pakana Viparyasam, Pashyan Pakana Viparyasam, that whatever solutions they try to use to solve the problems just cause more problems. That's the nature of it. And therefore devotees, they don't take shelter of those things. Rather, they see Krishna's behind everything. And this is something favorable for my bhajan. Jiva Goswami comments there, he says that Kamsa tells Akrura that you should fool them by all these attractions. You bring these two boys who are arbako, they're two foolish boys, to this bow sacrifice. And then the splendor of the city will be very attractive because these boys are village boys. And in this way you should bring them. In the Harivamsa Purana, Kamsa tells Akrura what you should tell to Nanda Maharaj. And there's 6 or 8 long verses. I'm just going to read 1 or 2 of them. Vachascha Nanda Gopavaikaram Adaya Varshikam Shigram Agacha Nagaram Gopai Sarvai Samanvita Krishna Sankarsha No Chaiva Vasudeva Sutta Ubho Drastum Ichativai Kamsa Sabritja Sapurohita. He told him that Vachascha Nanda Gopo, you go and you speak to Nanda Maharaj as follows. You tell him, Shigram Agacha Naga, you should come very quickly to Mathura, and you should come along with all the cowherd men, and you should also, Sapurohita, Sa means along with, Purohita, you're different priests and persons, and because we want to see the sons of Vasudeva, Krishna and Balaram. And he says that I've heard these two boys, Eta Yudovido Range, I've heard they're very expert in fighting, Yudo. So you bring these boys, we'd like to invite them to come and take part in some festive combat. Now these boys, I want to see these boys who are wandering around in Vrindavan, who are the sons of my brothers, my father's sister, who are just like demigods. He said, you tell them all to come, and for all the invited guests, there's going to be unlimited milk, ghee, yogurt, and buttermilk to be given for cooking and things. So everyone should like to come. It'll be a very nice festival. So Akrura is listening to all this. And what does he reply? Raja manisitam sadryak tava swadyadya marjanam siddhya siddhyo samam kuryad daivam hi phalasadanam. He said, oh my dear king, sadvik tava swadyaya marjanam siddhya siddhya, you're very expert. You've made such a nice plan to free yourself of all of this samam kurya daivam, all this misfortune. He says, but still you should be equal in success and failure. Siddhya siddhyo samam, be the same in that. Because it's destiny that produces the results of work. And Jiva Goswami comments that after hearing all this, Akrura had a desire to accomplish, he wanted to see the Lord. That was what he wanted. And he also wanted to see the death of Kamsa. For a long time, he wanted to see Kamsa die. And for this purpose, Akrura spoke to Kamsa, my dear friend. You're such a good friend. He began to praise him. And sometimes, for the sake of some great purpose, a saintly person might be a little pretentious. And we see in this case both Kamsa and Akrura being pretentious. But the difference is that Kamsa is being pretentious. He's flattering Akrura, speaking sweet words to him. Akrura is also flattering Kamsa. But Akrura is doing it understanding this is Krishna's desire, that I flatter him and that I make him peaceful so he wants to trust me. So then we'll bring Krishna and he's going to die. I want to be there. I want to see that. Whereas Kamsa, he's flattering Akrura. His flattery is false. His words are false. He's just doing it to try to get something for himself out of Akrura. So Akrura, when he heard all of Kamsa's false words, he hid his real intentions. And he just repeated what Kamsa had to say in praise. And this is the nature of a wise person. They reciprocate with someone according to their position. Someone is a pretentious person, if someone's duplicitous, then you have to also perhaps behave in a bit of a duplicitous way with them too. But still devotees do that on the inspiration of Krishna. Sometimes devotees, they don't like that. No, we should just speak the simple truth and just poke them in the eye and hit them on the head with a stick. But if you do that, you may get arrested, you may get beaten up. It may cause some problem for your book distribution. Rather, Srila Prabhupada told the devotees you should flatter them. But that kind of flattery is not the same kind of flattery as what Kamsa is speaking. Kamsa is speaking something demoniac from himself, whereas the devotees, when they flatter, they're doing it out of affection for that person. They're doing it because they want to help him. So Akrura went on speaking to Kamsa. Manoratan karot yuchaya jano daiva hatanapi yujate harsha soka byam tatapya gyam kuromite. He says that people are riding in this manorata, this chariot of the mind, and they have some determination to act on their desires, even daiva hatanapi, when daiva, even maybe fate, prevents their fulfillment. And therefore, yujate harsha sokabhyam, harsha sokabhyam. Sometimes they have unhappiness, sometimes they have distress, sometimes they have happiness. But in spite of all that, I'm going to execute your order. Jiva Goswami comments, he says that, in effect, Akrura is telling him that a person like me, dedicated to Dharma, without attachment, shouldn't do this. But since you're the king, and you're the embodiment of all the devotees, I'll do this. So he's showing devotion to Krishna to hide his actual true intentions. Sometimes devotees, they think that to be a devotee means you just have to speak the simple truth no matter what the situation is. But the Vaishnavas don't always do that. In fact, we see Srimati Radharani. She's living in Jagat with her so-called husband, her so-called mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and she has to hide her true feelings. She has to speak in a way, a diplomatic way with them. We see the same thing many places throughout the Bhagavatam. Another example is the Mahajan, Bhishmadev. He was fighting on behalf of Duryodhana, and certainly he was speaking sweet words to Duryodhana, but his real heart was with Krishna and with the Pandavas. So sometimes devotees, they have to hide their true intentions, but that's not duplicitousness. That's not being false. That's not offensive. Whereas on the other hand, Kamsa's words are offensive. So in this way, Akrura flatters him. And Jiva Goswami, in his commentary now, he's given a verse, he offers obeisances to Akrura. Because what we're about to say about Akrura, it's important. We should beg apology. Please forgive us what we're going to say about you. Akruraya namastasmai yena kamso pi sevita kuto pi vyajyato drashtum sevituscha nijeshvaram. Akruraya namastasmai. I offer my namaskar, my prayers, my obeisances to Akrura, who Jaina Kamso pi sevita, who served Kamsa on actually a pretext, where his real desire, sevituscha nijeshvaram, he wanted to do service to Krishna. And so he could see Nija Ishvaram, he could serve his Nija Ishvara, his Lord. So Akrura, he went to Vrindavan, and many things happened. I'm not going to go through that chapter. Our purpose in our discussion, we want to speak about the meeting in Kurukshetra. But before we speak about the meeting, we have to speak about some of the events that took place before it. Because unless we understand those very intense feelings that took place before it, then we can't really understand the feelings of the Vrijabasis and Krishna when they're meeting in Vrindavan, in Kurukshetra. So Akrura arrives to Vrindavan, and he goes to speak to Nanda Maharaj. When Akrura arrives, immediately, the Vrijabasis, they begin speaking amongst themselves. Did you see this? As Akrura is coming, what's he coming for? And Akrura goes and he speaks to Nanda Maharaj for the entire night, because it's not an easy topic he has to present to him. He wants to ask Nanda Maharaj, give us your son. And Nanda Maharaj is not going to agree with that. So Akrura begins by speaking to Nanda Maharaj about the atrocities that Kamsa was doing to Vasudeva and Devaki. And he told them that he arrested them. He's put them in chains. And every day he's coming to see them. And he abuses them. He shouts at them in a very angry. He picks up a sword and he threatens to cut off their heads. And he demands to know, how did you manage to transfer the 8th child? Who helped you? Who opened the prison gates for you? Because, again, Kamsa is a conspiracy walla. He's absorbed in conspiracies. Who's doing this? There's a conspiracy against me. This is the nature of demoniac persons. They're always thinking like that. There may be a conspiracy. There may not be a conspiracy. But the devotees, they see the real conspiracy is that Krishna's behind everything. So Akrura in this way was telling Nanda Maharaj about the daily behavior of Kamsa and how every day he was going. It's not enough just that they were locked up and they were in chains, but he was going and abusing them every day and shouting at them and asking, who opened up the prison gate for you? Who loosened your chains? And Akrura told Nanda Maharaj that Vasudeva doesn't say anything. He just sits there quietly. And sometimes some tears come. Kamsa's shouting is so loud that everyone, even in distant places all over Mathura, they all begin to tremble in fear. And Akrura told Nanda Maharaj, in a subtle way, that Nanda, maybe you're not even worried about Vasudeva, but he's your dear friend. But if you're not worried about Vasudeva, you should know that all the members of the Yadava dynasty in Mathura, they're all so much afraid of Mathura, of Kamsa. And that whenever Kamsa sees any of the Yadavas, he starts shouting abusive words at them because he thinks they're behind this conspiracy. He thinks they're all plotting to kill him. He thinks even his father Ugrasena is against him. And Nanda Maharaj, he put his own father Ugrasena in prison. And Akrura told Nanda Maharaj, all the members of the Yadava dynasty who have been able to, they've all ran away from Mathura. And every day Kamsa is threatening to send out the army, the soldiers to go and find him and kill them all. And then Akrura told Nanda Maharaj, hey Nandaraj, all the wise people of Mathura are hiding. I'm the only servant of Kamsa who stayed to obey his commands. And for that reason, he trusts me. Now, as we commented from our acharyas, Akrura actually wasn't the servant of Kamsa. And Kamsa didn't. He trusted Akrura because he knew that Akrura was an honest person. And he could trust him in that way. But Kamsa didn't consider Akrura to be one of his chelas or one of his servants. But in his humility, Akrura is speaking like this to Nanda Maharaj. And he's saying, I'm the only servant of Kamsa who stayed. And he said, but Nanda Maharaj, there's one reason why I'm staying there. Because I want to be there when Kamsa's killed. I want to see that. Nanda Maharaj has such a soft heart. And when he hears the words of Akrura, Nanda Maharaj began to cry and beat on his head. It was intolerable for him to hear about the situation in Mathura and how Vasudeva and Devaki and the members of the Yadu dynasty were suffering. And then Akrura told Nanda, unless this wicked sinner Kamsa is killed, Mathura can't be peaceful. And Nanda Maharaj, there's only one person who has the power to kill Kamsa. Your son Krishna. He's the only one. And I'm quite sure Krishna has taken his birth just for that purpose. And just this morning, Kamsa told me, I have this plan for a Dana Yagya, a bow festival. A Dana Yagya also means Dana means a bow, but Dana also means wrestling, fighting. You have Dana Veda. Kamsa told me, I make this plan for a Dana Yagya, and I'm going to invite all the powerful warriors from all over. So Kamsa told me, Nanda Maharaj, to come here to invite you, your sons and your relatives. So please be merciful to me. If you're merciful, then my life will be successful. Please come to Mathura with me and bring your two sons, Krishna and Balaram. If Krishna comes, then his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, will get new life seeing him. So see, this is the nature of the residents of Mathura. They're always thinking that Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Whereas the Vrijabasis is saying, no, he's the son of Nanda and Yashoda. So Nanda Maharaj listened the entire night. Akrura spoke to him. He didn't sleep at all. He listened very attentively to the words of Akrura, which is the nature of a friend. Friends are someone who listen very attentively. And not only did he listen attentively, but it's described by Acharyas that he took those words in his heart and he contemplated them the entire night. Because Nanda Maharaj was a little sympathetic to Akrura. He thought, Akrura was assuring him Krishna and Balaram will come back very soon. And so only if Krishna and Balaram go that Kamsa can be killed. You must bring him. So Nanda Maharaj was becoming a little inclined for that. But he thought, there's a big, big obstacle for this. What am I going to say to Krishna's mother? How am I going to get Yashoda to agree to this? So this is what he's thinking about the entire night. So the next morning, they were having their conversation in the village panchayat, in the meeting house. Nanda Maharaj took Akrura to his home, and he told Akrura, you stay out here in the outer part of the house, and let me go inside, and I'll come back. And when Nanda Maharaj went inside, he went to the place where every day Yashoda would be sitting with Krishna on her lap. But today, that morning, something was different. He found Yashoda sitting there alone. Krishna was nowhere to be found. And Yashoda had her head down, and she was crying and crying, and her clothes were soaking wet with her tears. So at this time of day, Gopal, Krishna, was always sitting on the lap of his mother, but that day, he wasn't there. And Nanda Maharaj understood that out of fear of Kamsa, Yashoda had hidden Krishna. So then Nanda Maharaj, he began to speak to Yashoda everything that Akrura said. And Yashoda had not one or two or 10 or 20 or even 100, but she had thousands and thousands of objections. No, he can't go. Krishna can't go. He has to stay here. I have to feed him. What will happen? And each one of those objections, Nanda Maharaj, one by one, gave all the right answers. Until Mother Yashoda didn't have any more objections. She couldn't say anything more. Mother Yashoda was a very simple person, and she trusted her husband. So finally, she agreed that my Gopal, he can go with you. He can go with you as long as you take care of him, as long as you accompany him much, and you promise you're bringing him back soon. And Nanda Maharaj agreed. And so then Yashoda went and she brought Krishna out from the place where she'd hidden him. And then Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, with Krishna in their hand, came outside of the house. And when they came outside, they found there was a huge crowd gathered there. All the residents of Vrindavan had come because they heard the news. Now, what happened at that time? What was the discussion between Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda? How were they able to convince the Vrijabasis to allow Krishna to leave? What happened with Krishna? How did Krishna agree to leave? What happened between Krishna and the gopis? How did Krishna go to Mathura? We're going to discuss this in our next session, which will be on Sunday. So if you're interested in those topics, you have to stay. Some of the devotees around here, sometimes they say that I'm an evil person. So I have to live up to my reputation. Manja Krishna Prabhu, Sanjay, Ramananda Gopal from Germany, Hare Krishna, Naveen, and Prabhu. So thank you all very much, and we'd like to stop here. So we have a little time, and I'm curious to hear what the devotees are walking away with. What is your realization? What is your inspiration? Maybe there's some questions. And right now there's nothing online, but we have a few devotees here in the room. Such a Prabhu, you want to come up here, please?
Such a wonderful topic, special month. So, Prabhu, in the narration, I have a question. In the narration that you were just giving about Nanda Maharaj going to talk to Mother Yashoda and try to convince her, and she objected, like she gave like about maybe thousands of no. So, but at one point she said, well, okay, if you go with him, it's like you promised to go with him. Did Nanda Maharaj go with when Akrura took Krishna? I can't remember.
Yes and no. He went separately from Krishna, and they followed along behind with the cowherd boys. And Nanda Maharaj promised, I'm going to bring Krishna back. Don't worry, I'm going to bring him back. When Nanda Maharaj comes back, we'll speak about that later on. That's another topic. But Krishna and Balaram on a separate chariot, just with Akrura. And Nanda Maharaj, their chariot was a little bit slower. Akrura went very, very fast. We'll speak something, I think, about that in the next session. Anybody else with anything? Shampriya, do you have any reflections? Krishna Kun? You got to come up here and get some people. They won't hear you. Oh, you're wondering about this duplicitousness.
How is it that Kamsa is considered duplicitous, but Srimati Radharani, or even Bhishma is not?
How is it that Kamsa is duplicitous, but Radharani and Bhishma are not? Well, Krishna says in the Gita, Sarva Dharman Prachagamami Kamshanam, but the Ham Tvam Sarva Papi, he says, give up all Dharma. He doesn't say give up all pop. And as we quote sometimes from Skanda Purana, a verse which is not coming to my mind, that Namanaditu Dharma Pi Papam Shamma Prabhavata, Krishna says that someone who does sin, but they're doing it for me. So to flatter someone, to tell some lie, is wrong. But if they're doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, then that's real Dharma. And so Mother Yashoda, Srimati Radharani is doing like that. Bhishma Dev is doing like that. And that's empowered. Srila Prabhupada did like that. Sometimes he would flatter non-devotees. Sometimes he would flatter his disciples and say, you're an incarnation, you're so special, you're this and that. He would flatter them. And maybe some of the things that he was saying weren't always true. But that flattery wasn't demoniac like Kamsa's. Kamsa's flattery is selfish. But the flattery spoken by Srila Prabhupada and by great personalities has a different motivation. If Prabhupada writes in the purport in the first canto, he said it may be surprising to hear, but great persons cheat. Sometimes they cheat, but they do so for a great purpose. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes cheated. Once the devotees, here in India, before they came to India, India was like Neverland or Peter Pan or something. It's going to be the ultimate happy place. And I remember when we started doing book distribution, I used to think that any Indian person, they were all devotees, Vaishnavas. And it took me a few days or a few weeks to realize that that's not why they came to America, to find Krishna. They came to America to get money. And they weren't necessarily the best persons to approach at all. And so in a similar way, when the Western devotees first came to India, they were very shocked. And at one point they came to Prabhupada to complain. They said, Prabhupada, everybody in India, they're all cheaters. And they're all trying to cheat us. And Prabhupada said, yes, I'm also from India. That I'm also cheating you. I promised some things would be very, very easy, but you didn't know. So sometimes I do like that. So Sri Ram Kumar Prabhu has commented, Nanda Maharaj is also very dear to Krishna. How did he get the conviction to part with Krishna? Well, Nanda Maharaj is a very simple person. And he had faith in Akrura. And he was also, as a simple person, he has a very soft heart. He was very concerned about the residents of Mathura, the devotees there. He was worried about them. And because of his soft heart, he thought, anyway, Krishna will definitely come back. I'll go with him. Akrura said, you go with Krishna so you can make sure he's okay. And then you're going to bring him back. And it'll only be for 1 day, 2 days. It'll be a very quick thing. So Nanda Maharaj thought like that. Whereas Mother Yashoda, her Saibab, her fixed relationship, her mood toward Krishna is much, much stronger even than Nanda Maharaj. And she can't even conceive of him yet. And Mother Yashoda, in turn, though, she's convinced by the words of her husband because she's also simple. I hope that's okay. Anapine, do you have anything you want to share? Go ahead and finish.
I just have a question. I didn't hear any descriptions if there of the difference between the feelings of residents of Vrindavan when Krishna left with Nanda Maharaj till the time Nanda Maharaj came back, and the feelings of the residents of Vrindavan after Nanda Maharaj came back and said so, and they asked, where's Krishna?
Yeah, we're going to speak about that later on. That's very heartbreaking
Yeah.
to think about that. It's terrible to think about Krishna leaving Vrindavan, but in some ways for me, to think about Nanda Maharaj coming back, and all the Vrijabasis are waiting, they see the chariot and they're so excited, Krishna's returning. And then Nanda Maharaj shows up and he's got his head down. He doesn't say anything. What happened at that time is very, very heartbreaking. So Sri Ram Kumar is saying, did Nanda Maharaj want to join him to Mathura? Nanda Maharaj wanted to take care of his son. And he wanted to go with Krishna and Mathura for that reason. Krishna, Sri Ram Kumar is asking why Krishna was sent alone without the Vrijabasis. We'll find out more about that in the next session because Akrura saw that if I'm going to get Krishna out of here, I got to go now. And I got to go really quick because there were some young ladies who were trying to stop him. And so Krishna went very, very fast. And then Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd boys followed along behind. We'll speak more about that in some of our future sessions. So I want to thank everybody very much for taking part in this. This is such a very, very deep, wonderful katha. And again, we want to explore this for this month of Purushottam. And we want to try to come to the point of speaking something about Purushottam Ketra and the connection with Jagannath Puri and this pastime of meeting in Kurukshetra and how Jagannath Puri, the mood of Kurukshetra and the mood of Vrindavan is there in Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham. So I want to thank everybody very much. Today is Friday, right? So our next session will be on Sunday. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.